Hi there and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a comedy movie review. And today we'll be having a look at the film Grandma's Boy. So, Grandma's Boy is a film produced by Happy Madison Productions, which in case you don't know, it's Adam Sandler's production company, and it very much fits into the type of films that you would normally see him in. So, in the UK, this is quite an unknown film, and I actually only happened to sort of stumble upon this film by accident. But it does have quite a nerdy and geek overtones in it. And basically the story is a 35-year-old games tester basically gets thrown out of his apartment who he shares with one of his friends, and ends up having to live with his grandma and her two elderly roommates. At the same time, he's working for a video games company, and they're producing a couple of new games. And there's a new female sub boss gets working there, and there's kind of a little bit of a romantic tension going along there, and really it's kind of a bunch of comedy set pieces going on. Look at the shenanigans. You've kind of got the strange genius games developers, kind of like this nerdy guy who talks in a robotic voice, and ultimately what happens is that well, there's not really a hell of a lot of plot in this film, to be fair, but it's more of just, as I say, comedy set pieces. They're kind of developing this game. He's a games tester, the main character, and this game developer basically steals some of his ideas to implement in his own game, and basically say that he produced it. But along the way, you've got various detours. It's a very they like making a lot of plot. There's a lot of stoner humour in here. But like I said, the main thing here is if you're a kind of a gamer or into geek culture at all, there's actually a lot here. And I don't think when you look at the title of this film, it gives you a fair representation of what the actual the film is about. There's lots of video game references, lots of game footage, and they have this where they work is, as I say, in a sort of games testing place, and it looks like a geek's playground. I'm sure it isn't quite like it's depicted there, but it looks like Geek Nirvana there, with all just games and just people playing them and betting on who's going to win certain contests and things like that. The humour is sometimes quite surreal. They have there's his kind of like drug dealer friend who seems to have all these kind of strange characters turn up at his place, including just some sort of African tribesman who's going to get him a kung fu monkey and things like this. So it's certainly not a serious film. It's very much on the same lines of the Deuce Bigalow films. In fact, Rob Schneider has a cameo, as does a couple of other people who you may recognise. So it's a kind of, in the UK, I don't even know if this has been released at all, to be honest. I've never actually seen it. I watched it online. And as you understand, in the US, it didn't open to a lot of money, but it's kind of garnered a bit of a cult following from there. It's not I wouldn't say it's a classic film, but it does have some humorous moments. And if you're a fan of geek culture, I think you'll get more out of it than maybe someone who is less interested in that sort of thing. But it is obviously skewed to that type of audience. You've got Jonah Hill in here, and you've also have a lot of other alumni from Happy Madison Productions. So, like I said, if you're a fan of the Deuce Bigalow films and that sort of thing, this is pretty much going to be more of the same. It's certainly not going to be for everyone. The humour, I suppose, is fairly juvenile, and it's very everyone's a stoner and everyone's on drugs all the time. And so if you're a kind of a person that maybe gets a little bit funny with drug use, this isn't going to be a film for you. But I would say it's a fairly humorous film. It's quite good spirited, really, and it's a bit of fun. So I'll give this film a 6.5 out of 10. Have you seen it? Let me know what you think, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you later.